My first question is, I assume you have talked to vendors about the adjustments that will be made as far as determination, reduction in programs, the new ones, and try to even out, if you would, the industrial base and the production schedule. What about the members and senators in those districts and states? Are you having those conversations too, to plow the field for us when we get on the House floor? I think of a Chinook helicopter. I have heard from a number of people from a particular state that they are not happy with that particular change. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. Vendors, because they may have a job in that state or another state, may have a different opinion. Is the Army seeking out some of these members and doing an educational program that really, we're not going to repeat the past, and we really aren't going to need this program in the future, and there is going to be that uncertainty in the middle years. Are you doing that? Because when we get to the House floor, and I've reiterated, we've had some very unpleasant experiences because we give you new money. The theory is we pay for it with cuts, and by the time we get done with the bill on the House floor, there's no cuts. And we have to find more money. And I'm not suggesting anybody's doing anything untoward, but I don't want to get in a trap.
So, Mr. Chairman, on your last point first, that's why I said up front, we could have come to you and said, I need $5 billion more to modernize the Army. But I think that with a $182 billion budget, we can find savings. And that's what we did. It's not that the programs we cut, eliminated, delayed didn't have any value. The fact is, in many of them, we were either producing too many, the upgrades weren't worth the cost. It was a duplicative effort in some ways, if you will. But to your first question, obviously the budget is not available for any public release or discussion until it's released, and that was 6 weeks ago at this point, I guess. But in the days immediately following this, several Army senior leaders reached out to some of the companies, the CEOs directly, those who took some big hits in the budget, and had a discussion with them about where we're going and why. I'd say prior to that, the chief and I have probably met multiple dozen times with CEOs, either privately or in large groups, to explain where the Army was going. We tried to be very clear about our 6 modernization priorities and the 31 programs associated with them, and that those were not changing. So we wanted to give them predictability, because that's where we're going. What we try to do, and certainly in the case of 47s, I know that company was aware because they came and spoke to me months in advance. We said, this is where we're going, this is why, this is our game plan, and try to lay out what the future is to get them to move to the future. I mean, could you imagine what the Army would look like in the 80s or 90s if Army leaders hadn't made the steps they made in the 70s to really move to the Bradley and the Abrams and the Black Hawk and the Patriot? So that's the move we're trying to make now. These systems have been with us for 4 decades. You talked about the risk of doing this. There is a great risk and a very clear risk in not doing it, because these systems will not hold up. Many have run their useful life. The Bradley is a case in point. And if we don't modernize now, I don't know when we will. And we will be at a significant disadvantage on a future battlefield.
Could I ask, because you've mentioned the conversations you've had with the vendors and contractors, they're not going to vote on this bill or on those amendments not to make that cut. Are people from the department going to be, again, an educational program? Here is why we are doing it. Here's what the future likes, so that, again, the ground can be laid here?
Yes, sir. We've done that in multiple speeches, in multiple presentations. Again, I've done it privately. I've done it in small groups with CEOs and companies. We have not done. I've done some outreach with members, but not as much. But certainly with the industry, absolutely.
I would encourage the department to think about individual members,
sure,
delegations, and locations. If you want to be successful, we have to win those votes on the House floor.